Welcome, everyone, to Puerto Rico. Open your eyes. I'm Edwin Ortiz, and today we are introducing a new format to our podcast, a radio talk show style segment. Many of our previous episodes have included videos, images, and guest conversations, but with this new format, we want to create a space for deeper conversations about topics that matter to Puerto Rico. This is not about attacking anyone's beliefs or insulting political preferences. This is about asking thoughtful questions and having an honest conversation. Today's topic is this: was Puerto Rico ever a sovereign country? Or better yet, when people say Puerto Rico is a nation, what exactly do they mean? Because we hear this all the time. People say Puerto Rico is a nation. People say Puerto Rico is a country. People say Puerto Rico has always been a nation. But historically speaking, we have to ask a very important question. Are we talking about a cultural nation, or are we talking about a sovereign nation state? Because those two things are not exactly the same. Before we get into that main discussion, we have to go back and talk about Puerto Rico's political status before the United States took control of the island in 1898. Many people today talk about Puerto Rico as if it went directly from being a Spanish colony to being an American colony, but the final period under Spain was more complex than that. In 1897, Spain granted Puerto Rico the Carta Autonómica, or the Autonomic Charter. This was signed under the authority of Queen Regent Maria Cristina. Now, let's be clear, the Carta Autonómica did not make Puerto Rico an independent country. It did not make Puerto Rico a sovereign republic. Puerto Rico did not become a separate nation state with its own international sovereignty, but it did create an autonomous political structure within Spain. And to understand what that means, we can compare it carefully to what Spain has today with its autonomous communities. Today, Spain is organized into autonomous communities. These regions are not independent countries, but they do have their own regional governments and authority over many internal matters. The Canary Islands are a good example. Today they are part of Spain, but they also have their own autonomous government and their own statute of autonomy. They are not a sovereign country, but they are not simply administered as a colony either. They function as an autonomous community within the Spanish constitutional system. That comparison helps us understand what the 1897 Carta Autonómica represented for Puerto Rico. Again, it did not make Puerto Rico independent, but it moved it into autonomous self-government within Spain. And here is the part many people do not know. Puerto Rico and Cuba received this type of autonomous framework in 1897, long before Spain created its modern system after the 1978 Constitution. For example, the Canary Islands did not receive their modern statute of autonomy until 1982, about 85 years after Puerto Rico and Cuba received the Carta Autonómica. So when we talk about Puerto Rico's 1897 autonomy, we should not minimize it. This was not simply a symbolic document. It was a serious political development. It was one of the earliest examples of Spain granting a formal autonomous structure to overseas territories. Again, that does not mean Puerto Rico was sovereign, but it does mean Puerto Rico was moving toward a constitutional autonomous relationship within Spain before the United States invaded in 1898 and interrupted that process. That is why this history matters, because when we discuss Puerto Rico's status today, we have to understand that Puerto Rico's political development did not begin with the United States. Puerto Rico already had a political trajectory before 1898. It had movements, parties, elections, leaders, and an autonomous framework that was just beginning to take shape. Then, on March 27th, 1898, elections were held in Puerto Rico under that new autonomous arrangement. That election is extremely important because it shows that Puerto Rico was not simply sitting still. Puerto Ricans were participating in a political process under a new constitutional framework. Puerto Rico had entered into a new political stage. But then came 1898. The Spanish-American War changed everything. The United States invaded Puerto Rico. Spain and the United States later signed the Treaty of Paris. And Puerto Rico was transferred from Spanish control to American control without the direct consent of the Puerto Rican people. That is where Puerto Rico entered a new colonial relationship. So now we come back to the main question: was Puerto Rico ever a sovereign country? Historically, the answer is no. Puerto Rico has never been an independent sovereign state. It has never had a seat at the United Nations, its own embassies, or signed international treaties as a sovereign state. Puerto Rico has been many things: indigenous land, part of the Spanish Empire, an autonomous framework under Spain, and since 1898 under the control of the United States. But Puerto Rico has not been an independent sovereign country. Now, does that mean Puerto Rico does not have a national identity? Absolutely not. Puerto Rico has a very strong identity, a people, a culture, a history, music, language, traditions, food, symbols, memory, struggle, and pride. In that cultural sense, many people call Puerto Rico a nation. And I understand why, because when people say Puerto Rico is a nation, they are speaking from the heart. They are saying that Puerto Ricans are a distinct people with a distinct identity, and that is true. But here is where we have to be careful. A cultural nation is not always the same as a sovereign country. A people can have a national identity without having full political sovereignty. For example, you can have a people with culture and identity, but still not have an independent state. I think this distinction matters because sometimes words are used emotionally, but not always accurately. When words are used in politics, they can shape how people understand history. For some, saying Puerto Rico is a nation is a way of defending pride. For others, it's a way of supporting independence. For others, it means we are a people with dignity. And for those of us who study the past more deeply, we have to ask, what exactly are we saying? Because Puerto Rico's identity, culture, and history are real. But sovereignty is something different. Sovereignty means legal and political power at the international level. It means control over foreign policy, borders, and treaties. Puerto Rico has not had that. Under Spain, it wasn't independent. Under the 1897 charter, it had autonomy but not sovereignty. Under the US, it is an unincorporated territory. So this brings us to a very serious reflection. If Puerto Rico has never been a sovereign country, then why do so many people continue speaking as if it was? Is it because of pride, identity, political messaging, or is it because many Puerto Ricans feel that even without sovereignty, we have always been a people? That is the conversation I want to open today. Because this is not about denying identity, it is about understanding it correctly. These two ideas can exist at the same time. Maybe that is where the confusion begins. Because when people hear nation, they think country. When they hear country, they think sovereignty, but they are not always interchangeable. Puerto Rico has had identity without sovereignty, peoplehood without independence, culture without full political power, and that is exactly why this conversation is important. What is Puerto Rico? Is it a nation? Is it a territory? Is it a colony? Is it a country? Is it a people without sovereignty? Is it a cultural nation under foreign control? I want to invite you, the listener, to think about this. Have you ever used the word nation to describe Puerto Rico? When you use that word, what did you mean? Did you mean culture, sovereignty, independence? Or did you simply mean that Puerto Rico is home? Because for many, Puerto Rico is an emotional reality. It is family, memory, music, land, language, struggle, and pride. And I respect that, but we also have to respect history. Historically, Puerto Rico has never been a sovereign, independent country. It was indigenous land under Spain, received autonomy in 1897, and then transferred to the United States. That is the historical reality. So the question is not whether Puerto Ricans are a people. We are. The question is whether Puerto Rico has ever possessed full sovereignty, and the answer is no. So now I ask you, what do you think? Have we been using the word nation correctly? Should we separate cultural identity from political sovereignty? And if Puerto Rico has never been sovereign, what does that mean for the way we talk about our future? This is why we created Puerto Rico Open Your Eyes. I'm Edwin Ortiz, and this is Puerto Rico Open Your Eyes. If this conversation made you think, please share it. Please subscribe, like, and comment. Every share helps another person hear the conversation. So share this with someone who loves Puerto Rico. Until next time, keep asking questions and keep your eyes open.